Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. John Henry Soto here with you as always. It is 7 a.m. here in Nashville, Tennessee, June 17th, 2026. And hope you're all doing well. We are going to jump right in, trying to make these shorter than 30 minutes. But for some reason, the last two episodes, I've gone a little bit over. So I do apologize if it's a little bit too much talking, John. But I want to give you as much information as I possibly can on the subject that we're covering. And it's important to me to say the things that I need to say. And sometimes I maybe say a little bit too much. It's because I'm passionate and I cannot shut up. So today we're going to be talking about the power of collaboration, working with people. This is so, here in Nashville, it's a wonderful thing. People love to work together. They have writers' rounds and then they meet. I talked about writers' rounds earlier this week, and we talked about showcases, and you meet people and in these things, and when you do, in networking events, you find someone that you really click with. It can really change the game. It can really change where you are, and I think that that's part of the excitement of being in a town where there's so much cooperation and willingness to work with someone to create something special. Very important. So one of the most important ways to grow in an industry is through collaboration. Whether you're an artist, a filmmaker, an entrepreneur, a nonprofit leader, or business owner, there are limits to what you can accomplish alone. Collaboration allows people and organizations to combine their strengths, resources, audiences, and expertise to create something greater than any one individual could achieve by themselves. Some of the most successful projects, events, and movements have been built through partnerships between people who shared common vision. This is the key thing. You got to find someone who has a common vision. Now, I have 10 things here that I'm going to go over at the end. 10 things you should look out for before collaborating with someone, because you may meet someone that you may click with at that moment, because a lot of networking events, you're excited, your emotions are high. These are things to look out for. This is a really important one, by the way. You're very excited at that moment. If anybody comes up to you and says, "Hey, I'd love to work with you," you might actually just automatically say, "Yes, let's do it," because you're excited of the moment. All the people are there. Maybe there was some performances, there was some music in the air, there was talk of success, and collaboration was being mentioned, and suddenly here's somebody presenting it to you. But you still have to make sure that you don't get caught up in the moment and become so emotional that you say yes to someone you should have said no to. And not because that person was either bad or, out to get you in some way, nothing like that. Although those things are always, you have to look out for those as well. But it could be also that you don't jive, you don't have the same foundation, you don't have that common vision that I just mentioned, right? It's not about that. It's about people get excited in the moment. So you have to be able to stay in the present moment, take deep breath, make sure you know your environment, make sure that when you meet someone that you're there and you're present and you're really listening to them and asking yourself, do we have the common vision? Are we on the same page? But those things are incredibly important to really, really keep a control on. Okay. Um, in entertainment, in the entertainment industry, collaboration opens doors that might otherwise remain closed. Artists can work together on songs, performances, showcases, music videos, podcasts, live streams, and tours. Organizations can partner on community events, educational programs, and outreach initiatives. Businesses can sponsor events while gathering exposure to new audiences. When everyone involved contributes their unique talents and resources, the result is often greater visibility, stronger relationships, and more opportunities for everyone involved. So it can really elevate things when you find that one person. Once you go through the list that I'm going to give at the end here, and you see that this is the right person and it feels right, you know, obviously you're going to use your own instincts that you have. And if your instincts have always led you to the right place, I want you to trust those instincts. Don't just listen to me. Don't listen to anybody. You listen to yourself first. You have your own innate voice and communication abilities and understanding of people. You have that ability. If you have a good track record of networking with people and collaborating with people, then you should really just stick to that and don't listen to people like me. you know um, do that, because at some point you're going to have to look back and say, like, did my collaborations really pan out and work for me, or were they a waste of time? Did they just, were we on treadmills and just pedaling as fast as we can but not going anywhere? These things are all, you don't pedal on a treadmill, but like on a stationary bike, right? Or on a treadmill and you're running with someone and you're not getting anywhere, right? These things become something that you have to then be honest with yourself and look back and say, you know what? The last four people that I worked with did not work out at all. Maybe I should listen to someone who's done a lot of collaborations and who's met thousands of people and has had made a thousand mistakes. Maybe they have a little bit of insight that I can use, right? Or maybe you say, you know what, the last four collaborations have been great. This guy should shut up. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't need to listen to this little Puerto Rican dude. But that's my advice. Don't lose your own ability to see people, because you may have a gift in that, and you may be doing really well in that area. So always trust that. Trust your instincts. Um, so throughout my journey, I've seen the impact that collaboration can have, whether it's organizing the writers' rounds, producing the You Are the Magic concert series, which I did, interviewing artists and industry professionals, which I've done hundreds of interviews of legendary musicians and filmmakers. Um, Working with nonprofits, which I also have done that, connecting businesses with creative projects, I've done that, and some meaningful opportunities that have come from people working together towards a shared goal. The relationships built through collaboration often become just as valuable as the project itself, leading to future partnerships and long term successes. This is stuff that I've actually have fallen into, made mistakes when you're putting together a writers round, a showcase, a concert series, a film project, a musical. Where writing songs with people. I've written songs not. I haven't written songs with that many people. I've written songs with mainly one other individual, Holland Cowger, who was the lead singer of my band back in the '90s. And we collaborated on songs together, which we were very proud of and happy. We also wrote our own things, and then we brought them up to the table, and then we jumped in on those songs together. It was a great thing to collaborate in that area. For films, generally I write the films, but film filmmaking is a collaborative event. It doesn't matter who wrote it. When you write, you get a writer in there. So if I wrote it and I bring it to the table, I have actors there that are going to bring in incredible suggestions, ideas, energy that I didn't even see before. The sound guy is going to have a suggestion. The DP is going to have, the director of photography is going to have a suggestion of where to put the camera. Maybe we can put it here. So it's definitely a collaborative thing. This is why I love collaborating. In collaboration, when you have two people writing a song, now you got two people writing a song. When you have a full team coming together, like some songs are ridiculous. Some pop songs are written by like 7 or 8 people. I mean, at some point you got to realize that, James Taylor, Bob Dylan, Billy Joel, Elton John. Well, Elton John had one collaborator, Topin, right? Bernie. So, but when you have all these guys who've written these songs by themselves, sitting at their instrument and just putting it together, you do realize that that is actually really an amazing thing to do. When you have 8 people who wrote the Beyonce Put a Ring on It, whatever, I think it was 7 or 8 people wrote that song. Then you start kind of losing the idea of, well, what is this, a collaboration or just people trying to get a little bit of of coin because they contributed 2 or 3 words. I'm digressing a little bit here, but I think it's important to have conversations about what collaboration really is. It really is working together to build this one thing, not 10 people coming together to try to build this small little thing, this thing that's not really that meaningful. The two minds coming together to me are really powerful. When you have a third one, it can get a little bit, it changes the dynamic. When you have a fourth one, then it starts building from there. You have a group, and in a group, sometimes you get people having weird suggestions, and then it doesn't really work out. You can say, well, those seven people wrote "Put a Ring on It," and that was a monster hit. You're right. What am I going to argue with that, right? I didn't think it was that good a good song, but they had a lot of money to put behind it. And you know what? When you play again, I'm digressing for 1 second. When you put a lot of money behind anything, that thing will become successful when there's a lot of money. Doesn't matter how bad the song is, it doesn't matter how good the song is. The song could be great and not get any traction because there's no money to put behind it, and it could be terrible and it could be a lot of money behind it. So when you're collaborating, there's a lot of pieces to it. So think of all those pieces. I think that's an important thing to look at. Now, the key to a successful collaboration is creating a win win situation. The best partnerships are those where everyone involved benefits and feels valued. When organizations, artists, and businesses focus on serving one another rather than simply asking, "What's in it for me?" they create trust, build stronger communities, and generate opportunities that continue long after the initial project is complete. Collaboration isn't just about sharing work, it's about sharing vision, resources, and success. A quick example is the band Rush. So, the band Rush, they're back on tour with a new drummer now. It's very exciting. I can't even go into it right now because so excited about it. Been watching a lot of video clips lately. But um, their drummer, original drummer Neil Peart, passed away unfortunately about almost 6 years ago now, and it was tragic. Or maybe 7 years, or maybe 5 years ago, and it was tragic, right? Anyway, but before that, they had a partnership. It was three guys. It was Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and Neil Peart. And these three guys had early on they were kind of struggling with the idea of, well, I wrote this song and you helped me with this song, so now we split this song, and well, you wrote that piece for it, you wrote the lyrics and I wrote the music, so we both split, on the royalties and all that stuff that comes with it, right? And then one day they finally sat down, they was like, you know what, we're all really working on these songs together anyway. Just because I wrote the lyrics, or you wrote the melodies, or I wrote the whole song, we're still coming together so everybody can put their pieces and collaborate in it. So why don't we just not have this conversation and just do a three-way split on everything that we have, and we never talk about it again? And that's what they did. And they have 40 years with Neil, and now it's been 10 years since they've been playing. They're playing again together, but the collaboration is all there. It's everything is just like equal. They signed on a dotted line. We split it 50-50, or 33-33-33, and then point 33-33. They split it, and they never have to go back to the drawing board again. And that partnership blossomed because there was never a talk about money. There was never talk about what am I getting on this. It was just about the work. It was just about what they were putting together. And I think that's a really wonderful example of that. All right, let's go over these 10 things to look out for before collaborating with people. And I'm going to give a little bit on each of these. So, number one, we talked a little bit about the shared values, right? So, make sure both parties have similar ethics, goals, and ways of doing business. Why did I mention ethics, right? Isn't that an interesting thing to add in there? It's the most important thing. If you're sitting around with someone and you think, okay, you have great, everything is great. We both like the same music. We have common shared values. I think this is great. But then you show up and they're heavy drinkers and you're not. And they show up and they're a little bit buzzed, and maybe they smoke things that they shouldn't be smoking, or things that they think are okay to smoke, and they say it helps them with their creative process, and you have no idea. You're not even with that. You're totally against that stuff. You may find out really late, or at least on that first session, that the ethics is not the same. How about people who show up late? Let's move drugs out of the equation, right? How about people who just show up late all the time? That's an ethics matter, right? You have to show up on time. You have to, if you're saying you're working for 3 hours, got to be there for those 3 hours, right? Ethics. So that's a really important thing. Those things you have to look out for, and you can bring them to the table right off the bat. So this is how I operate. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I'm always on time. I like to work really really strategically. That's like you guys know that the way I do things. I have my book and I try to have my calendar that I carry around with. Paper calendar. I still have it's a book calendar, which I still walk around with like a dork. But I like that better than the phone. It just keeps me, I don't know, it just puts something more into the physical universe of things. And it's really important. So if you have a schedule thing and you love to be on time, boom, schedule. There's other things that you can do, like location. Where are we going to do it? Well, I live over here. I live all the way over here. I got to travel 1 hour. I got to travel 1 hour. Maybe we can meet in a local place in the center. Maybe we can take turns, one day your place, one day my place. Make sure you get the location down. Make sure that everyone is comfortable with the location, so nobody is being so put out of the way that they have to travel an hour just to get to this. Number two, a clear expectation. Put it on the table. Discuss what each person or organization is expected to contribute before the project begins. So, very important to do this because early on, you want to know, well, what are the goals? What are we doing? What's the expectation? What is everyone's individual expectations? Maybe I said, well, I can come in and I can help with lyrics. But then I show up and they're like, pick up a guitar. We can come up with some of the music. Well, I'm only going to do lyrics, or somebody will say, I can play the guitar. I'll just come in and play guitar. You guys can do the lyrics, or you can do the lyrics and I'll do the guitar. I'll do the music. Okay, then he come in and goes, what do you think of this line? Should we change this line? Well, you're doing the lyrics. I like the line, but you're doing the lyrics. I can't do it. Come right, clear expectations of what everyone is bringing to the table on a collaboration. Incredibly important because I'm telling you, it'll come up later on and it'll be really awkward. And then you can have 6 months to a year of a collaboration that's not going anywhere. Number three, defined roles and responsibilities. Everyone should know who is responsible for what to avoid confusion later. I kind of already talked about that with clear expectations, but also responsibilities. If somebody's going to rent a room so we can be out, who's going to rent the room? Who's doing it? Are we all paying for it or is somebody paying for it? Who's doing it? Whose responsibilities are doing it? Just iron it out. And it can be friendly. I'm talking a little bit more like a manager and a person, but you can be obviously a little bit more diplomatic from the way I'm saying it. I'm just trying to get the point across. Number four, compatible goals, right? So make sure that both parties are working towards outcomes that benefit everyone involved. What are you looking for? You know what I mean? Like, what is the goal? Well, I want to have a finished song that I can put on my Spotify. Boom. That's a goal. The other person says, well, I want to make a music video of this song. Okay, great. That's your goal. What do you want to do? I want to see if I can get it on radio, like regular radio. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. So compatible goals. If they're compatible, if somebody says, well, I want this song because I want to put it in a jingle for hot dogs, for Oscar Mayer wieners. Um, is that a compatible goal? They go, wait, what? Well, no, I'm not writing jingles. Well, I know, but I'm going to use it for that. Well, that's not really a compatible goal. It doesn't really, um, it doesn't benefit both parties because one party didn't want that. It has to benefit all parties involved. And then the song publishing, who's we both have this publishing. We're both writing this together. We both get the publishing. If the song gets picked up by a major star and gets put out on the radio, that's my publishing. It's my song. Or is it the song of, sometimes you give away publishing. You say, well, you can take the publishing and I just want this, and it's like, well, don't ever do that, by the way. Always keep the publishing if you can, as much of it as you possibly can. Number five, reputation and professionalism. Research who you're partnering with and make sure they have a track record of reliability and integrity. Go look at their socials. Go look at their social media. Sometimes you can tell a lot from someone's social media platforms. And sometimes it's like, this person is maybe doesn't jive with my integrity. Maybe I don't see them doing anything. Maybe they have no followers at all. Maybe they're not on social media. What's going on with that, right? See how professional they are on there. Do they have nice professional shots, or do they just have shots of them in coffee shops taking pictures of their lattes, or just with their friends? It's not like their craft. Do they have a separate social media where it's only about their craft? Make sure you get this and you find out their reputation and professionalism before jumping in. Number six, communication style. Good communication can make or break a collaboration. Establish how and when you'll communicate. Get what I did, and this is an example with Isis Christopher, right? And this is Isis Christopher here, my artist, and this is her band, right? So what I did with her band, after I met every individual, I let them know right off the bat that this is a project that we're working on. We're going to communicate through the WhatsApp uh, uh, program app, and we're going to have minimal communication until things are a little bit moving faster. We're working on some songs. We got a music director, Miles, who's there. We have Miles and Isis working together. We are almost done with one track. It's going to be, I gave them exactly how we're going to do it, how we're going to communicate. It's not going to be overwhelming. That's not what this is about. This is about putting something together that's viable. Make sure that you, right off the bat, you tell people exactly what your plans are. And then when you meet with them again, you reiterate them. You tell them again, this is what, this is what, this is where we're going to meet. The communication has to be constantly the same style. Let them know right off the bat. Establish how and when you'll communicate. Okay, so I'm going to call you, on Wednesday. We're going to have a Zoom. Let's have Zooms. Let's use Zooms, people. If you're out there, you say, well, meeting in person is much better. You're right. There's nothing beats meeting in person. But if you have to travel an hour and a half to get to someone, or you have to travel an hour, or even 30 minutes in traffic, and they can be a little bit tasking, right? If you have to do that, why not say, hey, let's do a Zoom and let's go over stuff. We can all be in the comfort of our own homes. We can get the same thing done, because all we were going to do was chat, right? You can also do some collaboration musically on Zoom as well. So don't yes, meeting in person is the key thing. That's what you really want. But at the same time, use the tools that you have to make life easier for yourself. Number seven, financial agreements. Very important. If money is involved, discuss budgets, expenses, revenue sharing, and payment expectations up front. If we're talking about music, there's revenue sharing. How are you going to split this? If you have a song and you have the publishing, who's splitting it? What's the cost? How are you splitting that? Make sure you do that right off the bat. Number eight, ownership and credit. Determine who owns the content, intellectual properties, recordings, video, photos, and other assets created through the collaboration. This may seem like it's a lot to go over if you just want to sit down with someone and write, but I'm telling you that if you do this early on, the other person is going to know that you are a serious person, and you can do it very lighthearted. It doesn't have to be a serious thing, but you want to go over the steps so they can see that you're serious about this and that you're not messing around. You're here to work. You're here to work and put some stuff together. Get it down, write it down. It's good stuff. Number nine is commitment level. Another thing that I talked to with the band that for Isis Christopher project, I told them what the commitment level was. I was right off the bat. I told them exactly how many times we were going to get together, when we were going to get together. We were going to use Zoom to have conversations about things. They all don't have to come together to work on a song. We can have Miles, the musical director, and we can have Isis, Christopher, the artist, get together. I'll be there in the room, and we'll kind of collaborate on some things together, and then bring it to the table at some point with the rest. They already know that. They know that's I told them right off the bat, that's how we're going to do this. And they were totally fine with it because they were told early on. And number 10, and an important one that's kind of not pleasant, but we have to talk about it. An exit strategy. You can say, look, I want to work with you. I think this is going to be great. We talked about all these things that we want to do. If for some reason, this is to protect both of us, if for some reason you decide you don't want to work with me, just let me know and we could have a clean exit strategy where nothing gets you know no one gets hurt. Their feelings hurt. If I don't want to work with you anymore, I will tell you that I don't think this is working and we'll both be fine. Can we come up to that agreement, right? Discuss what happens if the collaboration doesn't work out or if someone needs to step away from the project. That's another thing. What if you're working on something and suddenly you get something and you have to go away? You have to, you get a gig and you got to go out of town for a couple of weeks. You can tell them, hey, or you get into a bigger project and now you're like, hey, this collaboration is going to have to go on the back burner a little bit because I just got this major thing. You both have to talk about that right off the bat so nobody is hurt and everyone can be supportive of that. All right. So, closing thoughts here. I hope this helps everyone. I hope if you have any questions on this, as I always mention, just email me at johnhenrysoto@gmail.com. Ask me the question. I will help you. I will guide you as best as I possibly can. I am available now. I expect to be very busy in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, and definitely for the next couple of years. I'm going to be wrapped up in a lot of major things. And now is the time to jump on and ask me questions because I have a little bit of time for the next, at least for the next month. So the closing thoughts here is, and that's johnhenrysoto@gmail.com. All right. And John Henry Soto on all socials. Please join, share the. I'm really bad about sharing and subscribing thing and saying those things. I'm just not good about that, so I apologize. But closing thoughts here: the most successful collaborations are built on trust, communication, and mutual respect. When artists, organizations, and businesses come together with a strategy, I'm sorry, with a shared vision and a commitment to helping one another succeed, they create opportunities that are often bigger than any one person could achieve alone. And that's the key thing because you have a vision, they have a vision. Sometimes that vision is the same, and man, it is a rocket ride to the top. So don't discount it. When you meet someone, have the conversation, know the 10 steps that you're looking for early on so you can protect yourself and protect them. You don't want them wasting their time if the vision isn't really the same or the commitment level is not the same. Early on, get that down is really important, but look for opportunities to work with someone because it can really change things to another level. All right, friends, I got it down under 30 minutes. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you as always. I hope these morning talks are helpful to you artists out there, and I hope you can share these and go back to them and utilize them. These are going to be good for a long time. I don't think collaboration is going to change much in the arts, so this could be a video that can be used uh, down the line, and I hope it is helpful to you. All right, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all. I will see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's conversation will be about lessons from interviewing industry professionals. So I've interviewed hundreds of people, many industry professionals, and I've learned a lot from them. So we're going to go into what I've learned from them and who they were and that benefit. So join me tomorrow morning and 7 a.m. Central. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. And as always, peace.